Klass, welcome to the
Welcome,
podcast.
guys. Thanks for having me. That's the first.
Yeah, so we're here with Klass and with Gagan Ghotra. Gagan, this is your fourth time on the
Yep.
show.
Wow.
I'm hyped for this. Klass, you know what's kind of crazy about you is your software took down Reddit stock price very recently.
Yeah, that's a good way to start. Yeah, that was a nice explosive thing I didn't anticipate happening. To be fair, like we didn't have expected to be that much of an impact, but yeah, it was something. I think a month ago now. Like it was literally a report. I always do these data reports where I'm like, okay, let's see what kind of like sources we see, what not, how often. I just saw a big decline. Simply shared it. I think it took.
Wait, so can you
Yeah,
before we even go there, can you introduce yourself and your
yeah,
tool
of course.
Promptwatch so
Yeah,
people even understand like what
yeah.
even took down
Good.
Reddit stock price?
Yeah, so I'm Klaas. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Promptwatch. And Promptwatch is basically a platform for geo, don't fight me, but basically AI search optimization. So what we do is we analyze a lot of prompts, we analyze crawler logs, we analyze analytics to give you a good like overview of how you show up in these AI search responses. That's basically all we do. We started 6, 7 months ago. As you know, the space is super hot. We now have like 500 competitors, I think. They show up every day for a good reason, because it's a very, well, not only a hot topic, but companies really struggle with this and they want to have insights on what's going on. So basically, that's how we started. We were quite early, which was good for us, and we invested heavily in product. So we are one of the few platforms that can actually track like real ChatGPT responses. So we have the shopping data, the citations, we have that. We also invested very heavily in crawler logs. So that's a kind of like a product where we analyze actual citations and when ChatGPT scrapes your website, when Claude visits your we track all that stuff. And basically bring it all together in like one big platform gives you a good idea like how do I rank, what kind of content gets mentioned, and bringing it all together to have like a good like comprehensive overview of like where am I and what can I do to improve it.
That's pretty cool that you're actually like seeing AI bots crawl your
Yeah,
own site and then using that to inform your AI
yeah,
visibility.
exactly. So the idea behind that was like a few things. Like sadly, ChatGPT they don't run in JavaScript. So normally we could track them with just the normal analytics. We have a good idea of like, okay, you're this bot just visited your page and cool. Now since they don't run the JavaScript, we cannot track that. So we had to go another way around. So we now integrate mostly on CDN level. So we have Cloudflare, Vercel, Fastly, Akamai, all these integrations we built ourselves to analyze those logs. And I mean, for years, no one cared about them because it was like Google indexes my website. Good. I'm happy, right? So I don't really care about the other bots. And sometimes you saw that, but no one really cared about it. And now it's like, oh, I want to know when ChatGPT goes where, what page is getting indexed. A funny side now is like also like they make up pages. We see this happen a lot where we see the 404s and marketing teams. We didn't even anticipate this feature, but marketing teams were like, okay, we see these 404s, we want to export them and start writing content on those pages. I'm like, oh, that's really smart if you think about it. Because, like, yeah, opportunity apparently gets citations for a page that does make sense to have. We don't have it. We see 404s. Let's write those pages and rank for them immediately because there's already demand apparently. So that's where the crawler logs came from, which was like a crazy big feature. And now we're basically overlaying that with your analytics to say, okay, you get these many citations, you get these many clicks, so we can start doing click-through rates. We can start doing a lot of insights. We analyze pages. I think Gagan, you are doing something similar with indexing the semantics of pages on a large scale, creating a vector cluster to figure out what topics you're ranking for and what not.
Yep.
And basically, we're bringing that to the market. So that's like the next level we're working on right now.
Okay, the next level. And before we get into the Reddit story, because it's such an interesting story, what were you? I'm curious. What were you doing? So you started this 7 months ago. What were you doing before it?
I've always been well, a developer first of all, so I've been like working as a developer. Did a lot of SEO on the side. I think every developer that does side projects, ends up doing SEO because you have to.
Yeah, but a lot of developers are terrible at
It's
SEO.
I think I found it like one of the nicest thing because it's basically even if you don't know what you're doing, it's like make a nice, clean, structured, fast website, and you're really like it's already like halfway done.
Man, I mean, we've all both of you have probably experienced this. The amount of developers who don't use server
Oh,
side rendering is staggering.
yeah,
The amount of devs who don't
yeah,
know
but
to do
it's
that. Not even how to do that, just to do that in the
yeah,
first
but
place.
it's a weird like when I started as a software developer, like software engineer, it was very normal to have like static pages. Everything was statically rendered, and then SPAs, React, and Angular, everything came, and we all went back to like, okay, I mean, client side running has a place. Our platform, the dashboard itself, is an SPA. Is it make no sense to server side render? There's no
Yeah, sure,
yeah.
it's
So
an app. I mean, like it's an actual app.
yeah, but then the pages of like the landing page are like static, just heavily cached with Cloudflare. They're safe. They're like I want them
Yeah,
to be fast and snappy and I think if you also in general like always liked SEO because like basically optimizing content for robots and like okay if you can crawl it fast, then like Google is like that's nice because I can just like read your content and it's fast. It doesn't cost me anything or very little to index it. So you really quickly start learning how to optimize for SEO. And I think that if you do that right, I'm always surprised how many people like the basics of like an H1, an H2, content, loading, images, like having that optimized, like it's like the basic stuff. And it's always surprising how few like teams are not even doing
yeah,
that. If you,
yeah, yeah.
so it's yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
And
that's so accurate. All right, so
as
okay, so oh,
as
go
you
ahead,
were
sir.
like thinking of these SEO and you're a developer, like what moment you went like, oh, there is a market opportunity where I should just get a promptwatch.com and start my tool, like where
Yeah,
does that click happen? Like,
I checked it out. Actually, the first commit from Promptwatch was a year ago, exactly like this week, a year ago, because I built it for myself. I have like a Homestra, which is like a little like side thing. It's like a real estate platform for second homes in Europe. So if you look for a home in Spain or Norway, you'll find that. Has some semi success. It's not super big, but it's like nice enough to play with and like you have it running. And a friend of mine on an X was like Paul. He was like, "Hey, I'm looking for a home in Greece." And I asked ChatGPT, right? Because we're like nerds, we asked ChatGPT, and and your website keeps showing up. And I'm like, and he's like, how do you do that? And I'm like, I have no idea. That's lucky. And that's where the idea was born. That was like where I really started investing more in it because I remember two years ago, Peter Levels made a post about like optimizing for, and I was like, I found a comment that I also reacted on it, and he was like, oh, too many people will do this. Too many people will build something to solve this. I'm like, he's right. He's always right in hindsight.
okay,
but he definitely it was a good. I think if you started last year, the clicks were like not too much. There was not too much going on. But really, when the citations started, when it really started driving traffic, that's when things changed. And what I noticed is like my co-founder and I, we worked at a different startup before, and we started getting traffic, but not necessarily only traffic, but like he asked people like, where do you find us? Like, how did you find us? How did you hear about us, about our company? And it was a lot of the time, it was simply like, hey, ChatGPT. I'm like, okay, so you asked for like, yeah, you asked for like the best this or this option, the solution for that, and you guys showed up, and I typed in Google or your website or clicked and found you guys. So we quickly realized that we ignored the clicks a little bit. Like we were like traffic. I had like 50 clicks here. Like it's not, the value is like the amount of clicks was low, but the amount of people saying they found us through it that became higher and higher, and that was where we really where we started focusing on. And basically we made a landing page. We had like our previous company got sold, and Gijs and I, our co-founder and I, we were like, well, let's see if we what should we do. Like I have this, I told him like I have this idea ready. Or I'm playing with this, and he's like that makes sense. We made the landing page and like the inbound was crazy. So we're like, okay, we are clearly not the only one. And I think that's also a bit around the hype in this market. I mean, everyone has a lot of like, oh, there's so much hype. And it makes sense to have this hype, right?
yeah,
But
sure,
clearly companies are like, we want to, first of all, we want to see how do we show up. That's very, like very basic. But also having it like okay, how do we optimize and like all these things, like no business is doubting Google or anything. You know, it's like, oh, we're gonna stop optimizing for Google. No one is doing that. But they're like, we want to see how we show up in all these models.
hmm
And that basically from there I was just like going crazy, like from big banks to small startups to everything. Like, I think we now have I think it's like 210 million citations and clicks we've tracked from ChatGPT and all these other models, thanks to our crawler logs and our analytics. So we invested heavily in that very early. So now we have one of the biggest data sets on that. So yeah, it's basically from there, well, not smooth sailing, not at all. It's hard work, but it was really like, yeah, the market pool was very big. That's just for sure.
Yeah. And also, like, I just wanted to ask you, like why you're building out of Europe?
Good question. Good question.
Why not just move to California or New York?
Um, Good question. Well, first of all, I have a family here. That's one thing. Now, I think that it's I wouldn't be surprised if in like a year we have an office in the US. It wouldn't surprise me at all, to be completely fair. But we have investors here. We raise some money here. We have a lot of customers also here, so that's a big benefit. Europe is a hard market to sell to. I don't know how much experience you guys have with like the European market, but it's just a very fragmented market. Like people are saying, "Oh, we're gonna do this for Europe." Like, good luck. That's. But to be fair, I think like a big chunk of our customers are already US based, so it's always. I think every startup is that like we're gonna focus in Europe, and then most of our customers are US.
Yeah.
This method of marketing is so effective, I had to make sure it wasn't against Google's rules before I kept doing it. It's a form of SEO I call compact keywords. Whereas most SEO focuses on putting up articles to answer questions how, what, when, compact keywords focuses on putting up dozens of pages that sell to searchers who are actually looking to buy. These pages rank on Google and convert so much better than normal that when I discovered this years ago, I couldn't believe this was allowed. It's less work too. The average compact keywords page is only 415 words. Compact Keywords is a 13-hour deep course on getting sales with SEO. A customer recently said, "Each lesson is dense with information. You're giving years worth of experience boiled down into 15 to 30-minute lessons with no filler or fluff. I feel like I'm gaining a new superpower." Compact Keywords is about setting up an SEO funnel that brings you sales for years and years and years. It works with AI, it's less work than traditional SEO, and it makes way more money. You can get it now at compactkeywords.com. Back to the podcast. And so I want to go back to this Reddit story because this was crazy. You took down the stock price of Reddit by what do you remember what percent it was?
I think at the top it was like 10 or something. It's like it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot of percentage. This was not my intention, by the way. I didn't. If I knew it had this much impact, I would have made money.
All right, so you dropped the stock. I wanted to say this. I wanted to say this right here. You dropped the stock of Reddit by 10%, and it was not your intention. It was no, and because I remember reading about it on Seeking Alpha, and okay, so yeah, I'll let you share what happened. It was crazy.
Well, actually, the to give a bit of context, like we analyze that data, we make some overview, I make these reports. I was like, I think we even talked about it before. It was like Gagan was like really pushing me, like you should make these reports. With all this data, I'm like, yeah, I should do.
Yeah.
So actually, it's your fault. And so I think this chart, it's without lying, on a Friday night. I think it's at 1 in the night. I made that chart. Completely honest, like this is what I do on my weekends, my Friday nights. I made that chart basically just like I collected all the data, I made the thing. I was like, okay, cool. And I was, I think you can even see it on my Twitter. And it's like, oh, I made I shared it, the screenshot.
And the chart said what?
Basically, the chart was just like you see all these citations. I'm echoing somewhere. I think maybe it's fine.
No, it's fine. You sound good.
I made all the citations, like the top sources, YouTube, from YouTube to LinkedIn to like what kind of like social media has impact on ChatGPT. What shows up, right? And
what social media is showing up on ChatGPT?
Yeah, exactly. So, and then you saw Reddit, and then straight away, like just like a big, like it's still like the biggest
Reddit,
source,
huge drop.
Yeah, but yeah, it was just a massive drop, and it looked also beautiful rather than like crashing down.
even I saw the graph. I think it was 11:30 p.m. In Melbourne, and I was just about to go to sleep, and then I saw a tweet, and I also like quote tweeted it and wrote that Reddit has gone from AI mode, and oh, sorry, from ChatGPT. And like when I woke up in the morning at like 6:30, and my team member has already sent me the message that did you look at the stock? And I was like, what the fuck happened in like just like
Yeah.
8 hours, like or something.
It was well it, no I posted it a week earlier, and a week later it got picked up. I think, I don't know who it was. I have to check out the name from that. Reshared it, and that post really went viral. Then I was so happy. I did the Promptwatch logo in the chart, like the watermark,
Yeah,
because that was a good investment. And I remember here it was a Wednesday, I think, and we suddenly were huge spikes in traffic. We're like, what's going on? Like, did we have a email campaigns? Because sometimes you get in a newsletter or somewhere, and we're like, where is this traffic coming from? What's going on? And then slowly the articles started coming in, and like, oh yeah, who financed? And this is us. Oh shit, this is big.
yeah.
It became bigger and bigger, and
And also
it was a lot of fun.
just for viewers, like because of just this one thing, the prompt watch ended up getting like so many backlinks from all these like really high value domains. So it's almost like you ran like maybe 10K USD, a digital PR campaign for free by one post
Yeah,
only.
it was a really good deal. And to clarify, we had a big problem with our domain name for a while.
Hmm.
We bought promptwatch.com, and clearly it was sandboxed in some way at Google, which was terrible because we did everything right. We reached out, and it was like, why doesn't it show up? And we even bought the IO domain from someone else for a lot of money. And it didn't show up, which is very annoying because you did everything right. But it's like, okay, clearly it's a sandbox and no one can tell you anything. Only after that, all that PR and all those links, then finally it showed up, and we're like, oh god, this was like, because of course it's like terrible when your business doesn't show up in Google. We know that, especially if it's in your space. But we knew why it wasn't showing, but it's like so annoying. And they're like, okay, now after getting Wall Street Journal backlinks, we're good. That's the trick.
Yeah.
So you're saying that Promptwatch wasn't showing up
Yeah.
for branded searches for
Yeah,
its
we had that
first six
problem. It was
months?
very. The funny thing was, we did show up in Bing, our domain name, because we bought an existing domain name, right? It was parked and everything, but like it showed up in Bing, so we did show up in ChatGPT, which was fun because we, of course, at that stage, like they used Bing as the search index, but then Google was like, when you typed in Promptwatch, wouldn't show up at all. Then there was an old company that used Promptwatch IO. He already quit, so we bought that domain from him. It's like, well, that's gonna solve everything, right? No more doubt. And Google still was like, nope. Only after we got the PR campaign, basically was like, okay, now it's like Google finally like, okay, this looks good enough. It was terrible.
And you have no idea why you weren't
The
showing
funny
up?
thing, I've asked like many SEO experts, like, hey, take a look. And it was crazy how it was all pointing to each other, like, oh, we don't know. Like, and basically, what I think happened is that the domain was parked, so that makes sense. It can take a little time, of course, to get some authority. But what I found in the Internet Archive is that 5 years ago or something, there was someone running some website shady on it. I think that was simply it. Where it was like in the index, it was like, there's some flags. They don't show you these things. They don't warn you anywhere. You have to just like hope for the best. So it took us like, I think like 4 months to show up. It was crazy. Like, so we solved this, by the way, by just running Google Ads, just like have branded ads. So we managed to solve it that way. But it was like super annoying. Like, so like, oh my god, like even for like that, we don't show up. Like the domain was indexed. Like if you did the site, it was in the, just not for that.
So wait. So you ran ads
No, no,
and that fixed
there
it,
was
and
like
then
a
you
temporary fix to at least like show up under your own brand name, right? So that, but that,
Yeah.
and then you started showing up for a lot more terms
yeah, yeah,
when you
no.
were
So
going
once we
viral.
got viral, we the clearly was like a good enough signal for Google to say, okay, no, this it looks really legit, like the backlinks you're getting and everything. So then we basically just like boom, position one, all fine. But there was a lot of like stress. That was a lot of like, oh god.
Yeah. And so what's the status with so Reddit? The what it was specifically was because so actually it's funny because I made some viral videos about this as well. Like I put this up on Instagram and TikTok and I got millions of views
Perfect.
sharing this. And yeah, and so I remember because Reddit went down. I think it was around like what 12% in ChatGPT citations, and then it went
Yeah.
down, just spiked down from 12% to 1 to 2%, and it hovered around 1 to 2%, and that's what took the stock down 10%. And so my question is it
No,
back?
it's not back at all from the previous highs. But what we do see is that it's still on the primary sources. Simple as that. Also, people ask us a lot, like especially Reddit agencies. They popped up everywhere, of course, the past year because, like, well, makes sense. And basically, our answer is like it's still the primary source. Also, AI overviews still one of the primary sources. But I think that what happened is that the in the weeks leading up to it, I saw some responses which were like they even contained quotes from Reddit, like Reddit comments in the ChatGPT response, where it's like, "Hey, this user says like good product." Like it was like you could have like 10 different Reddit posts in a single response. I think it was simply also just over the top. Like it was just crazy at that point. And I think I don't know exactly why they changed it because let's be real, like Sam Altman is like, he owns part of Reddit. So the relationship there is very clear, right? It's not some oh we just scraped it or something. No, there's a clear relationship between these companies. So I don't think it will ever go away. And it's also, I think in general
Yeah.
these platforms are very, if you think about like sources and citations, to go a bit more into that, like how the LLMs get data, having a website is like nice, but I can put anything on my website. Where it's with Reddit, of course, you have a little bit of moderation. It can be played, and it is being played, but at least there's some form of like, if a post goes viral, there are people actually making it go viral, and I think that makes a lot of sense, right? So I don't think
So you don't think a lot of people thought it was the removal of the num equals 100 parameter that had something to do with it because it was around the same time.
it's being pointed out a lot. A lot of people pointed out like because you can clearly see. I also did a report where it's like the amount of citations, and that went definitely down, but not crazy. Like the total amount of citations you get in a response, right? So basically, I take all the responses I get where the web search is triggered, and I said, okay, count like how many citations these actually have, and the number you clearly see from what we went from 12 to like 6, so it's less. I think that was clearly like okay, the num the num 100 is gone. Um, but I don't think the exact point was the same as the Reddit one from the top of my head. It was around the same.
You're saying it was
Yeah,
like
I
a few
didn't see
days
the
later.
exact date. I think it was like 1 or 2 days later. But I also think that keep in
Right,
mind that
right.
the chart shows the average amount. So it's also like we went from like sometimes 10 Reddit posts in a single response to just like 1 or 2. So it's like it went from crazy to like a normal amount. So I think that's also a big part of it, like where it's just like okay, for the users it's also like a bit more normal. And I do think they have access to it.
That's
They're-
but it is so it's crazy because Gagan, so you were like make that chart and then yeah, and then the chart goes so viral and then Gagan, you send me the chart and you're like Edward, make content on this, and I made content on it and it got millions of views.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Reddit is going ballistic. All right, anyway, Gagan, you sent me like 10
oh
amazing
no.
questions before this. Do you want do you
Oh no.
do you want to ask any of them?
All right. So let's start with the first one. Like, what do you think of geo as a term?
I honestly don't care that much about it. I think it's good to have a term that's like, oh, this is different, so that's nice. I mean, we also lead with it, like the geo, and my personal opinion. People ask me is like, okay, it will be geo now, it will be AI SEO in 6 months, and then it will be SEO. All SEO, all search will become AI search in some form. That's going to happen. It's the reality of it. And I think that the SEO term probably will be the big term in the end, which is fine. I don't honestly, I don't really care about like the naming of things.
Yeah, sure. I think like whenever anyone is coming to me, like I talk with a lot of people every day, and some people are like it's AI search optimization, some are like it's geo, some are saying that it's answer engine optimization, AEO, and I just tell them that what you need to focus on is what is different
Yeah,
than SEO. Like we have SEO right now, and if you want to show up in ChatGPT or anything else, then you need to focus primarily on what additional you can do on top of like
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
SEO you are doing. And I think that's where Promptwatch comes in with all the
yeah.
data and information points which you can use to guide your content strategy and build on top
Yeah,
of your
yeah.
existing
To
strategy.
super like to clarify, it's like because sometimes I hear people say like, "Oh, SEO is dead," or like whatever, but also like change your strategy. And I would say like, do the SEO you're doing. If you're doing well, just keep doing that, right? Don't like a fast website, well structured, good content. It's very like basic, but do that. Keep doing build backlinks, all these things. Keep doing that. What we see just happening is like the top of the funnel content that is consumed now on ChatGPT. That's changing. Cool. Social media, bigger impact than before. Cool. Part of it. Like the if you see that like a funnel, like if your SEO, this is just changing the top here. This is where we play primarily now. It will probably go more and more mix and become part of each other, but like it's you need to do good SEO anyway. Keep doing that. It's just like layers and changes on top of that. It's fine. Like it's
Yeah.
So you don't think there's a huge difference between doing SEO for normal search engines, traditional search engines, and for
I do think
LLMs?
there's definitely differences, right. So the way content gets consumed, the way ChatGPT picks out the articles it's going to cite, the way that there's training data and there's like inference that's from the search coming in. So ChatGPT has like base knowledge around topics and brands already, and so there's definitely changes, big changes in like how it gets consumed and presented to the user, and context, personalization. These things, yeah, these change. But I don't think that anything you're doing for SEO is going to hurt showing up in, right. That's just yeah.
But like, would you do extra things for AI visibility?
So I think that in general, what we see now is a lot of like offsite. So external sources, as in like social media, just video is suddenly becoming very big. Like I think like AI overviews now cite timestamps within YouTube videos. Cool, right? So that's suddenly like very like a big opportunity.
Yeah, but but to your earlier point, video literally YouTube is the number one most clicked website within traditional
Yeah,
search.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Literally the number one most
yeah,
clicked website within traditional search.
I think where the tools like Promptwatch come in is identifying the gap. So if you're building SEO strategy, like you just run the queries on Google and see like what competitors are doing. With tools like Promptwatch, you can just like get a quick overview of like what the prompt is, what the answer is, what the citations are. And just based upon that, you can run a comparison that, oh, ChatGPT is recommending this brand and it's saying that it's coming from a YouTube video where someone has reviewed their product. So probably it's a good idea that you also get that person or someone else on YouTube to review your
yeah, yeah.
product as well. So it's
It's a bit
just
of like the
yeah,
actionability because it depends also keep in mind per brand. Like if you do e-commerce, you see like customer reviews; those are like the main thing. If we do like big banks or it suddenly it's like way more content heavy. So it's like it really changes per like kind of like type of company or type of product you're selling from where do you show up. That's always like a big like factor in like what should be your strategy. But I think that in general, like it's always been good to do everything in marketing well. Makes sense, right? But now we see those influences changing, and that's more interesting because if you look at like 10 years ago, it was like you had the right articles, you ranked. It was not that hard. Like it was not magic. You had the backlinks, the articles, the content. It matched. It gave answer. Good enough. Now you get these. I think everyone's like focusing on topics a lot, and I see it a bit more like semantics and like vector search. I think that's going to be the most interesting one. Context, like what is actually being said on an article about you. Have more insights in that, and I think that that is also a little bit the bet I think most AI search companies are now making. Like now it's a lot like the search index is like either Google or Bing, but what if there are going to be more of them? That's going to be really interesting, I think, at least.
Yeah, I think still like even in the future there will be some index that these guys going to use because Dejan SEO like he wrote an article saying that you can't make models
No,
to have sort of like their internal memory. You can't
no,
have like all the world's information in there. It just
yeah,
makes them inefficient. So you better have a model which is really good
yeah,
in using tools. So you give it tools like a web browser, you give it tools like an
yeah,
search index or something like that,
yeah.
and it works really well. So I think even in the future there will for sure be an index which will be
Yeah.
used to pull in
Yeah, no, but
citations.
100% that. So like that's that's the way. I mean, search will keep working for, well, for now, but you don't know in 10, 15 years. I'm not gonna say anything on that, but I mean, you need a search index to basically have tool calling to. But what is like, what I from a technical perspective find interesting is that you can now see people making large search indexes themselves, because not many people talk about this, but like because of vector search, because of like all the new technologies available, suddenly what Google did 20 years ago is now kind of accessible for you and I, and that's really interesting because you see all these companies popping up like Exa and even Firecrawl starting to try to build their own indexes. And then you have like Cursor using Exa to search the web. I'm like, oh, this gets interesting. Now, but if Exa is becoming a search index and I'm using Cursor to write code and I'm selling dev tools, so you get where I'm going, things become more interesting because you have all these like different indexes showing up. And what if TikTok makes its own search index at some point? Because it's not that complicated anymore, and Gen Z is now searching up. So I think that's the big bet we are making at some point, where like, okay, this fragmentation will continue, and you need Google always had like the click data, everything to make the perfect index, or the perfect index, but like the best one, the biggest one. And what if other companies are starting to do this? I think that to me is like really interesting. Like this fragmentation, I really like that.
Yeah, that's why some people are talking about like SEO is a search everywhere
Yeah,
optimization. Like you
yeah,
got to be everywhere. Because what will happen over time is like Instagram will see that, oh, we got all these LLMs. Like now
yeah,
it's really easy to rank all these posts and reels that we have. We can just build our own stuff, like why rely on
yeah,
Google or
yeah.
anyone else?
Totally. And also like thinking a bit further ahead of like, okay, now everyone is trying to build a browser. Everyone is trying to do so. Uh, I think that we are really at like stage one of what we expect the market to do. The reason we build our own analytics suite, we know agents and users are going to be a massive thing. Not today. They're clunky. Let's be honest.
Hmm.
They don't work yet. But then you see Google AI mode with the ideas of like, hey, just go off and buy me or find me concert tickets. Who's tracking the analytics on like this interaction? Am I optimizing for these things are like very thin now and but very like early, but we can all like see this going to happen. Like I'm not gonna find 10 websites and see who has available tickets and just like here Google find it for me. And that's going to be very interesting, I think. And also like optimizing for that and tracking
Yeah.
that. That's basically yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of like optimizing specifically for ChatGPT and then like AI mode? Like, is there any difference, or you should be like having two strategies for this?
It's a good question. Like optimize specifically, I do notice that I think that the benefit from Google is like they have the search index and the data already in there. It's already crawled. They have that. It's cached or stored. So I wouldn't like really change anything you do for that. Like I would definitely focus on semantics. Like make sure that topic clustering, everything is like really correct. Um, but for what's interesting for ChatGPT, what we're seeing now, and it just returned that the query fan outs are live again, so you can extract that. They're very exact match search terms. I started collecting them this week again because I saw they were replaced in a bit of another position. But it's really interesting to see how they are very simple in that sense. So I think that there's definitely opportunity to write articles on those topics. I don't think it's a very sustainable way, by the way, to do that for the next coming years. But I think it's also in general my view on the SEO space. Like I understand that some things will not be around for the next 5 years, but sometimes you want to have results today for the next few months. and you know it's not gonna scale indefinitely, but it's going to be fine. The same with the Reddit thing where people are like, well, it will never be the main source forever. I'm like, no, probably not, but for now it will be. Let's enjoy the ride and like work with that and see if you can have some opportunities there. So, yeah.
Yeah. Even recently in their earning calls, Reddit CEO, he said that 50% of their traffic is coming from Google. So that was, I think, maybe like 1 or 2 years back before Google did this content sharing
Yeah.
deal with Reddit. It was not like getting that much traffic from Google, and now it's like 50%
Yeah.
of their overall traffic is coming
Yeah, I
from
think
that.
it's a
So
bit just yeah.
things keep on
Yeah,
changing,
also like, I think it's too much to be fair. Like I'm by the way, I love using Reddit. I've been using it for like 10, 15 years. It's like to be fair, like some subreddits that I read sometimes. But yeah, I think we all agree that it's a bit like overpowered in the search, and it shouldn't be like that. I kind of like miss like finding
Yeah.
good websites on Google. That's the sad state where you're like just good sources at some point.
Yeah. Even the Reddit traffic suddenly increasing over a period of time, and I give this example to like people who talk to me about like what they should be buying. So let's say if a customer is coming to you, do you think that it's right to buy a monthly subscription, or you want to have a large enough data set for a long period of time, like a yearly license? Because what I'm doing right now is like I'm just telling that if you want to invest on any AI visibility tracker, you should be looking at spending that amount for at least a year, because that will give you a long enough time frame and large enough data set to actually see that, okay, last 3 months this, then you can like make your decisions and whatever or changes that you need to do in your marketing strategy. Like, what do you think of investing in the tool for the whole year, or versus like just trying it out for a couple of months and seeing like where things go?
It's most of the customers, like what we do with the platform is like collecting a lot of data, and the beauty or the changes or what has changed a lot with traditional SEO is like an Ahrefs or a SEMrush. They have a keyword database, right? So great. So I can start today and I can see results in the data, right? That's because they've already collected the keywords. Most of the stuff is already there. Cool, and you pay them you pay them to have access to that data. What's changing now is that like the crawler logs, no one has access to them, or the analytics, they never collected them. The prompts, the topics you want. So it's really like we move everything from this big database to your own side. So that's why most, especially larger companies, they just collect a lot of sources over time, and there you can really see these correlations and really start seeing improvements. And also, like we index the entire website, so you have way more insights in what's working, what's not. I think in general, like you want like we will see this in all tooling. It will be way more in the website itself, like on the customer side itself, to collect the data. Because of personalization, for example, that's also a big driver. Like a keyword database is not that valuable anymore. When you and I type in something, we just see wildly different results, and that's of course a bit of a problem. Like there's always it's not 100% personalized, but there is some level of personalization that's clearly happening.
Yeah. So what do you think, like how many prompts anyone should be tracking? Like if you're a small business, medium size or enterprise, like you should be tracking like 10K prompts, 20K, or maybe like just 3K, 4K prompts?
To clarify, like we charge, like for example, I think everyone now does it. It's like per prompt and the responses. So I think our starting price is like 50 prompts, which gives you a good understanding of your space, like what's going on, where do I show up, all the way up to like I think like 350, 400, like how many you want. But we combined it. I think that 50 is with like 4,500 responses. So you really start running it over and over. For example, the AI overviews don't change every few hours. They change every 24 hours from what we've seen so far. They're cached for 24 hours, which makes sense. I think in general, the fun thing is some companies are like, what should we track? And then we give them some insights and like we help them to surface a little bit what's coming up. But a lot of companies are also like, yeah, we want to know like best this and this, or it's very like straightforward. You just throw it at all these models and see these big differences in where you show up and where you don't. So to answer the question a bit clear,
Yeah,
like
sure.
I think for a simple company with like one big use case, it's like 50. E-commerce, it gets more complex. So e-commerce, that we have a few big e-commerce partners. It's like, okay, we have 1,000 products. Yeah, you can imagine that it becomes a bit bigger in that space. So it's like really like same with keyword research. If you have like 10 keywords you want to track for mini SaaS, it's fine. The opportunity gets bigger once you have like more products to sell.
Yeah, and how are you like recommending customers to like what
Yeah.
exact prompts to track? Like, let's say you want to just
Yeah.
track like 50. How you think that people should be deciding like what those 50 prompts should be?
There's different ways. So we allow you to connect with Google Search Console and just like extract keywords you're already ranking for and write prompts around that. Very basic. It works because you already know like okay, around these topics I'm showing up, and then you can start figuring out from there what's the best thing to do. Some companies want to do like really persona level. Hey, I'm this and this person. I'm looking for a new. I'm a startup founder. I'm looking for a CRM. Very like specialized around a certain topic. But my personal favorite is crawler logs and seeing where the citations come in. You don't know the prompt, but if, for example, the demo account, we have like the real estate for Europe, if it's like homes for sale in Sweden, it's not that hard to figure out what the prompts are. And then we generate those prompts to estimate like, okay, which could have been the prompts. We fire them up and we check like, hey, do these citations match? Like, do you get the citations you expect to get? And basically we reverse engineer like what could have been the prompt, find that and work from there. That really gives a good feeling of like, okay, these are clearly the topics. We get the traffic on, we run them, validate that this is indeed where those citations get matched. And then you have something, okay, now I can see how visible I am. Because then it gets interesting where you see, okay, I'm not that
Mhm.
visible actually. Like my competitors are very high in these and I'm very low in these responses. And you get something to work from.
What are some challenges that you've had with tracking AI visibility that probably all of your competitors are struggling with?
I think there's a few, I think the biggest one, especially starting out, and people hated me for it when I did this. We build our own crawlers, so we quickly figured out we used the API at first. Like, okay, ask ChatGPT the API, just throw it in the API. I was like, okay, there's basically no sources. Oops, that's a problem. So we really quickly figured out you cannot use API data to get the real data that people get. Like the tool calling is different and everything, and I think that's very quickly like where people struggle with when they start out with this space. 'Cause I always I mean there's 1,000 competitors. Like I can every day someone else is like following me on Twitter and I'm like, oh cool, you made the same. Oh fuck, the same thing.
Yeah.
Because on the surface it's a very easy idea. You shoot some prompts at an API and you get answers and you show those answers. Cool. And then the in-depth things start was like, oh, but now I cannot use the API, so I have to use the actual interface. And oh, that's more complicated. So you have to crawl that. And you're like, okay, but then you also have to clean that because they have used these special tokens and everything. So you have to make a little parser. That's annoying, but okay. Oh, they added something new. Oh, you have to change that. So my plans are different this week because I have to change that. They have to do it for Perplexity, Copilot, and everything. So you see how quickly this goes. And then it's also analyzing these citations because we now scrape all the citations. So, for example, we find an article that's influencing your visibility. We scrape it. We analyze it again with an AI where we're like, okay, this is a corporate website and this is a listicle or a review or a comparison. Or so we have to analyze those sources as well. So we can really dive in, like what is impacting, where are the opportunities? Should I reach out to these guys to get on the list? So it really quickly becomes a massive product. And then YouTube is an impact. Oh, we have to like make some insights on that YouTube channel, the YouTube video to give you help on like, hey, this is like impacting your visibility, this exact moment, this transcript, by this channel, by this amount of views. And before you know it, you're building this huge marketing platform where it's like, oh yeah, this is why we have a
Yeah.
team and we have some funding and we're growing because it's really big.
Yeah.
Do you think that it can get to a point where like let's say in 6 to 7 months from now you have the technology and the models where you can just like give the action items like I plug in my website, I don't see the visibility data, you just tell me that these are 20 things that you need to do and your visibility will improve.
Yeah, I think it's not that hard. Like we already see, we're getting really close to that action. The actionability for now is like it services really quick. a good friend of ours, like Simple Analytics, a bootstrap startup in Amsterdam. They use the platform since almost day one, and now it's like he's like, oh, this is great because I can just see exactly which listicles. Like, with one run, you see all these sources that have an impact on how visible you are, and basically that's your marketing plan, because it's like, oh, clearly I need to engage with these posts on Reddit or create them myself. Clearly I need to write these articles because I'm missing them. My competitors have these articles, I should write them. These listicles have an impact on where I show up, so I have to either reach out like to get on that list as well. So before you know it, you basically have an entire marketing plan laid out for you, which I think is a lot of fun, because we see as well where SEO tools were really like, okay, the SEO tools, SEO teams make sense. That's what they do. And now it's like, oh, this marketing and SEO, I think, is a really way more exciting opportunity, because now it's like everyone's input is like it's very involved, but also a clear impact on like, hey, that stupid Instagram reel marketing made, we don't care about, but apparently it did drive traffic, and that's good.
Yeah. And
Have you
speaking of,
used?
yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask. Have you used your own tool to improve your marketing
Yeah,
plan?
so
And if
we,
so, how?
to be fair, like we not as much as I should be doing. We should be doing way more, but we clearly have like the writing for like the articles and stuff. Again, listicles, outreach, like which articles should we focus on, where should we, what is having direct impact. That, and also like for Reddit, YouTube, we clearly see also LinkedIn. We see just basically everything that has an impact, and what we do is just run these things daily. So we get a good overview of like, is something changing? PR was a very heavy push for us. It was really nice. And you can see immediately like, hey, these articles are influencing our ranking because we get this PR push.
Are you doing social listening? Like, do you have like full-time
No,
people doing social listening?
we don't do that. We
Really?
should be doing that probably. I think for us, like the difference with social listening is that for now we track more like what has an impact on how you're found, right? So it's a bit different compared to like just tracking all the keywords. Because for example, my Twitter has like zero impact on how we show up in ChatGPT. Makes sense, right? Because they don't index X at all. Fair enough.
Wait, who doesn't
Like
index X at
ChatGPT
all?
is like almost like no, so like a few posts will show up,
Uh-huh.
but basically not.
Why do you think why do you think that is? Because it does, I mean, it does
Elon
rank for
want
a
to
lot
fan.
on Google.
Elon want to
Yeah,
fight Sam.
that's for sure.
Elon
Yeah,
don't like Sam.
that's for sure. Um, yeah, I think simply that. I think that
But it is interesting because if you want to get good, I mean,
no,
no, it's yes, it's
no,
Elon wouldn't allow it to happen. Yeah, that's what it is. It's
but
blocked. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's blocked.
And if you search like same thing using Grok, sometimes the first search that it do in chain of thought
yeah.
is searching X posts, and then it
Yeah, no,
search web.
I think there was a fun example of like Home Astra is like, okay, that's my little website, and the only real estate platform in that niche that's getting some traction on X is through me, from me posting on X, and you can literally see my visibility on X for that app is way higher than all my competitors, all these big competitors, because I'm like, yeah, it makes sense because it's searching X first, sees my website, sees me, it's like, oh, that looks good. Sadly, I mean, the usage is so low that it doesn't matter, but you can clearly see, okay, we own that source is prominent, it makes sense. And it's the same thing with Reddit and ChatGPT, that relationship. Which is, it's sad in a
Yeah.
sense. Ideally, you want to have like X be present as well. Perplexity, for example, leans a bit on Instagram. AI overviews, I see some on Instagram, but not that many. Mostly it's Perplexity is mostly also still YouTube. I think it's also toning down because the lawsuit with Reddit, it's a mess if you think about all these things going on. But so yeah, it's really different per network and per LLM. So again, for us, it's good because there's so much chaos. Perfect. But I'm really curious where it will head at some point.
Yeah, and even I think people should also be tracking like which LLM likes which platform the most, and if they should be optimizing for that. So ChatGPT is mostly like it likes the big news sites a lot. So doing
Yeah.
press releases and those kind of things are useful. And AI mode likes Reddit and YouTube a lot. So being on Reddit and YouTube is something that going to push your visibility in AI mode.
Yeah.
So
No, I think if you ask me, like in general, I think video is going to be a big thing. Like not right now, but give it a few more years. because it's I think
Lots of creators are moving towards it. Less people are making blogs, and they're making Instagram. They're making Instagram
yeah, and
Reels and
it makes
TikToks and
total
YouTube
sense.
Shorts.
Also, they're just looking at like because I had a few like customers ask. They were a bit like a bit early. They were asking around like, okay, we do this and this, and do you guys track TikTok search? And I'm like, no, no, I don't. But that's definitely an interesting question because if you look at it, like, okay, next generation, what are they? Are they? Because now a lot is like the discussion, like, well, people still use Google, and that's true. It's still the biggest.
Google is 95%. So I had on the SVP of marketing at Datos yesterday. You know Datos. Yeah. So and she's like, yeah, Google is still like
Yeah.
95% of the market. And ChatGPT dwarfs all the other LLMs so much that they needed a separate graph for the other LLMs because if ChatGPT was in it, you couldn't tell the difference in sizes
Oh,
between the other ones because ChatGPT dwarfs
exactly.
them so
So,
much.
but I do find it interesting to look a little bit like in the future, like few years ahead. Like, I mean, go sit on a bus and look at like what like 14-year-olds are doing on their phone, and it's like they're not googling stuff. Google is like what your dad used to do. So I can definitely see product discovery moving towards way more Instagram, TikTok for them, especially. So a bit like how we do the Reddit thing now, how it's such an impact on what we are seeing. I can definitely see that happen with
Something worth mentioning that I left out was actually before I say what I've seen, like what have you seen with conversion rates through LLMs? Like how much better are LLMs converting when brands are getting
we
mentioned in
don't
them?
track the exact. We track the conversion from like mention to click. So we have the CTR, which is like I think in Brighton SEO we did a whole talk on it. Like I don't have the numbers in front of me, but basically it's like top of the funnel content is almost like no clicks, right? So the answer is given. I'm not going to visit your website. That's just the hard truth of it. Like, nice that you had the answer. Thank you. Goodbye. But for anything with intent, when it becomes like, hey, I'm looking for this, then the clicks become very high because you have like, I want to buy something, I want to download something free to whatever. That's very clearly where the clicks still go, which gets to like ChatGPT shopping, which becomes more interesting. Like, okay, they're gonna take that layer as well at some point. It's still small, but what is it going to look like? And I think I look a little bit more at like Google, what they're doing, because they have so much more infrastructure ready. They have the users, our data, everything basically to take over the web. If you think about it, if you're like a doom thinker, like I have a product, I want to sell it, I throw it at Google, Google finds a buyer, that's it. There's no website basically anymore. It's like, how is the future going to look like in that form? I don't think that will happen, by the way, with all the trust trust things. But if you think about it, like they could essentially do that, right? Where it's like, oh, what about this? You're the best options. Yeah, order. Thank you. No website has been seen.
Mhm.
Google can build the best shopping product, like shopping recommendation system in the world. Like ChatGPT cannot close any. If Google choose to do a specific product where like a recommendation search engine, they can build the best, like
Yeah,
the best
I,
one.
I think that in the end it probably won't happen because like laws and regulations for sure. Brands don't like that idea, of course, of like having like because it sounds nice in the beginning and then like good luck. Of course, there's also like 10 different brands selling the
Yeah.
same Nike shoes, right? So that's also a bit like how does that work? Just the lowest price. So I don't think it will happen, but I can
Yeah.
definitely see where it's like check out in ChatGPT, check out in AI mode, find me ticket. Like there's definitely going to be some changes in that. That's for sure, right? That's I don't think anyone was down with that, but I don't think a complete replacement of the web will happen.
Well, actually, while we're on this topic, so Charles
Yeah.
Float came on 2 days ago, and he said that he thinks AI mode is going to become the default once Google can figure out how to monetize it better. And there's a huge debate that's happening around whether AI mode is actually going to become the default anytime soon. Charles Float was like, as soon as they can figure out how to monetize it, which could be soon,
What do you guys
it will
think is
happen.
like? Why would they struggle to monetize it? Let me ask them. What is the thing they would struggle with to monetize in AI mode?
Well, how do you? It's just like, what's the best way to put in ads, and also to not, because it, if you think about how ads appear in search, they're very clearly labeled ads, and
Are you
this has
sure?
changed over time. But there's still no, but it still says sponsored. It still says
Yeah.
sponsored. It's changed. They've run
Yeah.
experiments. It's gone back and forth. But I mean, I, so what are you going to have? Are you going to have an AI recommend a product and then say sponsored over it? And the thing is, it's easier to scan through a list of links and ignore the sponsored results than it is to read through big block paragraphs and ignore the sponsored results. It's a lot harder to ignore the sponsored results when you're forced to read through big block
Yeah, no,
paragraphs.
no. I mean, I
So yeah.
definitely can see how it's a bit more like you have to make it a bit more like appealing to people because I have to read the like 5 options that are sponsored first and then go. But and that's also how I read like Google now, where it's like, these are ads, and then like
Do
scroll
you?
down.
Do you? But you probably. I mean, a lot of people just
Yeah,
naturally
yeah,
skip
and that's
over
what I
the
mean.
ads.
Like, I'm like, okay, scroll down, and then there's the next section.
But I'm saying it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to do that in it
I
with a
I
chatbot.
I don't think they like if you let's be realistic. Like, there's a reason we don't have data on AI overviews, right? Because the if you go a bit like a step back, like if you look at what Google do with AI overviews, a lot of people ask us like the big reason for Promptwatch, like why we grow so fast, like also having support for AI overviews, because so many companies are like, we need to know, do we show up or not, because Google is not telling us at all. So that became a big feature for us, and I think simply the reason why they don't show that is because the numbers are terrible. Like I this just like just I think that if they would show how often you're cited in these AI overviews and how many clicks you're getting from it, people would not be
Oh,
okay. Like, it would be like very angry at Google.
let me tell you. Let me tell you. So the episode with the SVP of marketing at Datos, it's going to come out like an hour after we record this, but it's literally titled "New Data." 57% of Google searches are zero
Yeah, wouldn't
click,
that wouldn't happen at
and
all. Like,
yeah,
it
and
makes
it, it's also because of Google's ecosystem. It's not just, it's like it might result in something on
yeah.
Google Maps or another Google property where a click isn't
Yeah,
necessary.
I don't think
But
it's
it's
like
still
necessarily
like,
bad.
but and Ahrefs also did research that found Ahrefs did research and found that AI overviews decrease clicks by 34.5%.
Wouldn't be surprised at all. Like, if you look at your own search behavior, right? But I'm like, people will hate me for this, for saying this, but like when AI overviews rolled out in the Netherlands, I was using Google again more than I did before, because I just had a question. I'm like, I don't want to dive through 5 websites to find like what's the okay. Here's the answer. Yeah, it's not always perfect, but like, oh, this is some quick information I need. Oh, it's there. Okay, cool. Thank you. There's no click. Uh,
I
they're
like
not
AI
they're
overviews.
not perfect,
I
but
use them too.
for a lot of simple things, I'm like, oh, this is the answer. Cool. Yeah, it's not. It's like not.
Yeah. When in Australia, like they started rolling out in the search results, like clients were telling me that they are seeing their brands in ChatGPT from Google. Clients were thinking that AI overviews is ChatGPT from Google.
Yeah, that's also. Yeah, I mean, the education you have to do on this market is also extreme, right? It's like so many moving parts all the time, and people are like, Why is there like ChatGPT in my Google? No, that's AI mode. Oh, AI mode. What? Perplexity. What is Perplexity? Well, that's another thing that's also like running. Like, okay, and what's that? Like, people are like, oh yeah. So people are also now, these models are also embedded, so you want to be part of the training data. So when someone else has a SaaS that asks about, and you're like, oh my god, how are you gonna explain this? It's way too much.
So I wanna ask both of you, do you think AI mode will become the default anytime soon?
I would go with
Mm.
no, because Google don't want to take the risk of doing any sort of like experiment around ads. So even if they figure out a right way to show ads in AI mode answers, still there is risk of like not getting enough click through
Mm.
rates. And if their revenue from ads drop for a quarter, it's going to
Yeah,
be disaster for the stock, and it's going to be disaster for all of their data center investments that they have planned, because they have been telling investors that all these data centers investments that they are doing over like next 2-3 years, is just to serve AI mode and AI overviews. And if the data clearly shows that AI mode is not delivering ads revenue, then why Google has already committed like 3 years of capex for all these data center investments? That's going to be a big negative for investors, and that's why I think that the risk is really high. So Google will be really, really cautious in rolling out AI mode ads, and even like AI overviews ads in US. They announced it, I think, at Google Marketing Live in last year, and still we have not seen like any ad. Like sometimes there is like once in a while, but that is just like a regular ad showing up below AI mode, but below the line that separates the usual results. So it's almost like the ad is showing up in the usual results, but it's just embedded inside the AI mode layout. So I think the risk is really high. So I don't see like anytime Google sort of like doing the switch to AI mode.
And I'm gonna counter that. All the points you make, by the way, I'm completely agreeing with. Like, if they cannot have the return on investment and get ads working on it, it will not happen. That is for sure. But I do think let's also not forget the other side of AI mode. The consumer really likes finding information on ChatGPT and AI overviews and just having the answer in front of them. I think that's also an important part of it. Like I don't think that Google's investing in AI mode because they think it's like, oh, we just have like also, people kind of want that. So I do think they're gonna do it within 1.5, 2 years to make it like the main default. Like keep in mind, like main default. I think that all the points from Gagan are completely valid. Like it needs to have a return on investment. The ads need to work. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. Like I think they will figure that out. I have no doubt that Google will figure out how to insert ads. I think they also there's a few things I find interesting. One, the user likes ChatGPT or AI overviews or AI mode. Just like I type something, I get the answer. That's nice. Not for everything. I think, for example, I see a lot of like travel booking examples. I think that people really like having control over booking a flight or booking a holiday and everything. So I don't think that is for everything, but clearly, like the default way of searching will be AI search. That's what I'm betting on. I also think that ads will be viable enough, especially with all the context Google has. And I'm curious how much they can sprinkle in that. Because, I mean, if you think about it, like Google knows everything about you, essentially. So I think that definitely there is going to be, especially in AI mode, having context, having the right context, having the data on like the products, the websites, and everything. I think AI mode will definitely become the main thing at some point. Also looking at like how much they're pushing it. This is not some experiment. It's like it's heavy. They know this is coming. They know this is also like I think that they need to do like Gagan said, like they need to have the numbers on it. It needs to be like it needs to drive clicks. But if you look at like I think one of the most profitable things for Google Ads are simply like the ads in the search results instead of like the on-site banner ads. That I mean, those are like less and less a thing compared to years ago. So I think that definitely that it fits really well into that whole how are you going to show it? Like, oh, here are options. Oh, this is a sponsored option, but it's like, oh, we add a little bit of a yellow outline around it, and then you show it. Like, so I have no doubt that it will be a thing. Also with ChatGPT with ads, like they will come. I don't know when, but they will definitely come in some form for sure.
What's your take on how that will if it did become the default, if AI mode did become the default anytime soon? What's your take on how that would change publishing, web publishing, and how it would change SEO, if at all?
Um, I think it really depends on like the topic you're searching for. Like the same thing when we talked about shopping. Like there's like one in the end store that has the shoe you're gonna buy, but there's 10 stores selling shoes. So there needs to be some still a website, still something there. I think the big publishers are going to be probably they make big deals with. That's always how it goes, right? They make you get partially, you can read more on the website. So I think that that's not going to change. But I think for a lot of content, that's going to be a problem. Like I think like realistic, and I have content websites myself, right? So I'm also going to get hurt by this, but I think that's going to be a problem. Like if you're purely an organic organic play for like getting clicks from content, that's for sure. I think it will be brutal. Like not fun
Yeah,
at all.
yeah. I also think that I think like earlier also like in the last episodes we have talked about helpful content update that Google did in September 2023. That was a big blow for like small to medium sized publishers, and I think if AI mode switch happens, then it's going to eat up like all
Yeah,
remaining guys. Like there will be no small to medium sized publisher left. Like there will be just like large players in each country, maybe like 10 20 in US, 10 20 in Australia, 10 20 in Europe or everywhere else. So it's going to be really hard for to start a new site, especially if you want to get
yeah,
into publishing. No one will ever start that because there is no money. Like it will be really hard to make money. And
yeah,
and I don't know where it is going, but it's a bit concerning as well to
yeah,
see it broadly like Google taking over the whole web, and like everything is just dependent on Google. Like they can turn the switch on and off whenever they
yeah.
want, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, like I'm not saying this like in a good thing, like oh AI search and Promptwatch amazing, and that. But like, no, I clearly see this is not the like as a site owner myself. I can say like this is not great. Like I'm is it if once AI mode is like the main thing, it's not going to be great at all. But what I do find like if what I need really like when I talk about this, like what I need Google to do, and they will eventually at some point do this most likely, is having good insights where my content is cited and consumed. Because if you think about the other way around, I don't care that much if people read my website in AI mode or ChatGPT as long as I know they're reading my content, it's cited, it's clear, they're consuming my content, my stories, and then they go off and click on it. Maybe not today, maybe tomorrow, but it's part of the funnel. If those insights are there, then that it does change a lot. Because then I'm like, okay, my content is the top content still. I can see that. I don't get a click, but it's consumed, which will reward me eventually and hopefully like a conversion down the line. That could change it a little bit. But if it's just like, oh yeah, we fumbled everything together and there's some footnote with where we got it from, that's not going to be great because no one is clicking on that. Let's be real. No one is going to click on like, oh, I'm really interested in this paragraph. Where did it come from? Oh, from this. Clicks are too low for that. That's just not good.
Yeah. I think even like many people come to me and asking about like should they start a publishing business because
They asked you that?
yeah, people ask like these kind of things like oh I'm interested in like these specific kind of cars, and I have like six of them already, and I just want to like find a way to make money alongside that. And I'm like, you can
Yeah.
just do YouTube, but many people they are just like, oh, I'm not comfortable on camera. That is the most common question. Like people say, I don't know, and then I'm
Well,
like, starting a website is not a good idea right now. So maybe try to get some lessons on like how to get comfortable on camera and start a YouTube.
well, if you think about it, like if you sell something, that does change a bit. If you sell information, have fun. If you sell cars, or if you like have like a car trading business or anything, that's something that's always how I see it. Like I mean, in the end, like ChatGPT is not gonna sell cars soon. Let's be real. But you can, and then it's like okay, these kind of like prompts or like whatever you track, they are gonna lead you to your website because ChatGPT wants to help you get the answer. And they're like, okay, if you want to buy a car, this is where you can buy the car. So I think that those kind of businesses are still quite interesting. Some but the real estate website I'm running is like, oh, you still get all these people clicked through because in the end, like they need to reach out to the realtor.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some value. It's going to be curious if they do build up on top of that as well, because I'm waiting for someone that's going to do the correct list for AI. Because if you think about it, like throw in what you want to sell, find the match, find someone that wants to buy. Can we make that with? So
Yeah,
that's going
sure.
to be curious as well how that's going to look. But
I
pure
think
content. That's
it's going to be a
sorry.
really toxic relationship between Google and the whole web, because they have to keep the web alive. Like they cannot just go ahead and kill all the publishers, because if they kill all the
No,
publishers, there will be no new content for AI
no.
mode to train on and slide on as well, which they don't want to happen either. So it's going to be a balance where neither site owners can say that we don't want to show up in AI mode, and neither Google can say that we don't want to send any traffic out. So it's going to
Yeah.
be a bit of like a toxic relationship and a balance between these two forces,
Well, they have to give us something, right? I mean, the idea of like you don't care that Google scraped your website because they gave me a click. So there was always the deal. It was,
Yeah.
make total sense, right? You scrape my content, you give me clicks, everybody's happy, nothing wrong. Now you scrape my content and I don't get anything.
Yeah.
Whoops. So exactly like that. That's going to be really fun and weird. I think they're very aware of this. It's not like the black box for them, or like they know that they have to deliver something. They cannot do this without any clicks at all. On the other hand, like ChatGPT is getting away with so much. OpenAI is getting away with a lot of stuff so far. Not saying it's good. I'm not a big fan. I'm a big fan of AI, but also realistic in like how it's training its data, how it's getting the data for training, how it's like using these things, and there needs to be a balance. That's for sure.
Gagan, do you think a lot of people would stop doing SEO if AI mode became the default? And if that happened, would it create actually more opportunity for people who stick with SEO because there's less competitors?
Yeah, I think if the switch actually happens, then people will not be like stopping SEO, they will be questioning their ROI from SEO. So if you are a business and you are going to spend, let's say, 10K on SEO for a year, and AI mode is default right now, then you will be sitting there and saying that I can get similar ROI by spending it on socials, maybe YouTube, or doing some other sort of like affiliate partnership. So it's not going to be that SEO is going out or SEO is becoming less important. It's just that more people will be questioning their spend on SEO, and that will lead to that marketing budget sort of like shifting to other channels.
Yeah, I think it's already happening right now. From some of the conversations we are having, it's like, well, the budgets are a bit tight because clicks are down. Like if you think about it, makes it. There's, I mean, not every company, but some companies there's of course is like, yeah, that's nice, but like 30% of our clicks are down. Fix that first before there's more. Oops, and that's a logical thing from. It's a logical thing from business. If you don't, but they should understand a little bit more, of course. But it's going to be a problem in that sense. Like you said, like for some companies, I would also argue that just run ads. Like you're not gonna have like organic people land up on your website. Just run ads primarily. It's the best thing you can do. That happens. Some businesses are very heavy on that, and it works. But that could become more. That's also a bit of the question of like if you just kill organic traffic, maybe that solves the Google question of like getting ads because now you have to like pay for showing up. That's also a bit like what happens then.
I do think I think it's hard for a pure SEO content play. I would say if someone wanted to make a hobbyist blog though, I still feel like somebody could make a hobbyist blog. And especially since like LLMs and traditional search like fresh content, and there's still lots of like one, they like fresh content. Two, there's lots of queries that are like wide open that nobody is targeting.
Yeah.
There's lots of stuff that you can make content on if you want to make content on it.
Yeah.
And to your point, Klass, if you are selling stuff, personally, I think search, whether that's through AI or traditional search, is an amazing place.
Yeah.
If you are selling, if you have stuff to sell, services, products, SaaS, search is an incredible place.
Yeah.
And also, like one of the other thing that I've been thinking about is Google Discover. So Google Discover used to show more of content which you are searching. So let's say today you search about bikes, then tomorrow you will get like more of bikes content. But now it is moving from search history to more of like interest graph. So whatever you scroll through, whatever you click through, the topics and what is getting discussed in those articles, you get like more of that. So Google Discover is becoming more of like interesting things for you.
Yeah.
So I think that product and overall Google search can move to a point where Google exactly knows like what Gagan is interested in. So Gagan is interested in SEO. So if there is any new SEO company who is doing product launch or something like that on the web, Google might send me a notification via the app saying that, hey, you're interested in SEO, check out this company. And we already know that you are interested in these 5 companies. Here is a AI mode search that you can run to compare and see if which one is going to be better for you, or maybe you should cancel one subscription and switch to others, or these kind of things,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, I think by the way, like what's interesting and that is like if you look at like realistically, because I've seen some SEO projects where I was like, oh, these guys get massive amount of traffic, right? Like crazy. Like a platform for
Programmatic
finding
SEO.
that, for example. But what they did, the whole SEO strategy around like driving traffic for a website that was like renting a room in a different country, like the small, like not the whole home, but just a room. I was like, oh, there's a lot of traffic. Then I dove a little bit into the traffic, and it turns out it was like, oh, how do you say hello in Spanish? I'm like, okay, you rank high for that, and you get traffic on that, but like, is this really like valuable traffic? One, is it valuable traffic for your business? Not really. Like the idea was there, but and is it something you should have been ranking for at all? If I think about it, like did you give the user like the value? So I think there was also a bit like at some point some companies do too much SEO on like the programmatic SEO, but also like really are you the one ranking for this and why should you be ranking for this? And so I think that also like at some companies like they get hurt with these updates, but also like it's fair enough. I'm like, yeah, you're losing traffic, but not sales, right? So I think it's a
Yeah.
bit of a also a game on that side.
And also, like, related to that, like, one of the thing that we have been testing with our clients is like, like right now we have subscribed to my email boxes on the pages and
Yeah.
everywhere else. We are testing that schedule actions for us on Gemini. So in Gemini, like, you can schedule an action, say that send me an update about whatever new videos Edward has published in last 2 weeks, and every 2 weeks it's going to send you a notification with listing the videos and a quick summary of
With
that.
14 videos, because I do it every day.
Yeah.
But
So
those interesting things. Like instead of subscribe to my emails, track my. I really like this. At least they're smart.
yeah, yeah. So I think that is also something that brands need to look into. Like, if we know that people are using these ChatGPT and Gemini and all Perplexity a lot, so you want to make sure that if any feature which can sort of like serve you better, just use it. Push it to
Yeah.
your users and get them to use it in that way, because Edward wants their content to be seen more, and it does not depend like if it's from Google, ChatGPT, or some Gemini notification. Like, you just
No.
want presence.
Yeah.
Just give me the
Just
views.
give me the
Just
views.
give me the views. Yeah. Class, I want to ask you, are there some things that are working to influence AI visibility right now that is surprising you? Like, oh, I wouldn't have expected this to work. Wow.
Um, I think it's a bit of a, like I said, like a bit of a mix. I'm impressed, like how quickly, especially comments on Reddit. Like there's something a post and you comment on it, how quickly that gets picked up. That's for sure, and how easy it is with listicles. It's basically SEO 15 years ago. Top 10 this, top 5 this, alternative pages. Right now, it feels like just honestly like the stuff you did 10 years ago. Like it has a surprising amount of impact. That's for sure. And also, the query fan outs on ChatGPT itself, they're not that deep. They're like, oh, best thing 101 2015 review. You're like, okay, this is not like the most intelligent search I expected you to come up with, but there's definitely a lot of opportunity. It will not stay for that for long, but it's very clear. Like you can just like what we basically do now is like we service all those articles. So like, okay, these simple articles have impact, and brands just like either write the same or similar stuff, or they reach out for these listicles to be part of it. It's really impressive, like how easy that is for now. Like I can't imagine it stays for long, but I think the brand to me what I can see changing is like the brand entities and the product entities are now showing up in ChatGPT. That is really interesting because the concept of these things like being an actual part of the response, like hey, they really like are going to do something with it. That to me is really interesting because that means that they keep track of these things in a way. I don't know exactly how they're going to use it, but it's definitely an interesting place where you can at some point like Is it ads they're going to work with? Is it like tracking the responses they're giving to give certain like reviews and like measure internally your popularity? I don't know yet, to be fair, but I think that this is going to be like the thing. It feels to me like this is where it's heading. Having more track internally, tracking these indexes, tracking these kind of like entities. Like, what are these entities? And to me, that's really like the interesting thing, though. And I don't know yet.
Kind of like kind of like a brand score.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's it. Could be. Like, I don't want to say like, oh, it's definitely that thing because we don't know, but I can definitely see that happening. And I think that's where search was always like, okay, you have keywords, you rank for those keywords, and now it's a bit more like, okay, topics. Because let's not forget, Google and DeepMind, they came up, like their teams came up with the whole LLM concept, basically. So they know what they're doing. Um, and I think that is for me is like really interesting. Like, can they do entity scoring, brands like entity scoring, brand scoring, where they keep track, context matters. On Reddit, you have so many like positive comments, YouTube video. Like, what is going to change with these? Like, essentially, we have page rank for websites. What is it going to be like page rank for entities? How is it going to shape? And suddenly you're ranking for stuff without even having a website. Can that happen? Like, can you have a brand entity without a website showing up for stuff? I think that's more of the interesting stuff to see where, if you on a technical level see where SEO is heading. I think that's for me is like, I think also where Promptwatch as a platform is like heading. Like, backlinks are one thing, brand mentions are another. In what context are you getting mentioned? I think that's really the thing that's going to change the way we do our jobs. I think that's really the way, like, you can see.
What's interesting about that though is that still sounds like SEO to me. And I mean, like, man, 10 years ago, Rand Fishkin was saying build a brand.
Yeah,
Like, he
yeah,
was doing Whiteboard Fridays.
yeah.
10 years ago, Rand Fishkin was doing Whiteboard Fridays saying build a brand. Here are all the SEO reasons you should build a brand, but you should build a brand.
And that's also why, like I said, like the whole thing, like Geo, AI, SEO, you're optimizing for a search engine. So it's SEO in a sense at some point again. I think that brand building will, I think what does you should do that anyway. By the way, like, you should do brand building. That's just a good thing. But I'm curious like how much more impact it will have. That's more like the thing I find interesting is like, because we use like, oh, you can use Reddit and then you comment with a brand name and that people would search for it. But now it's like, is it going to influence, have a bigger impact on that, like the entity database, the brand entity in these models? Is that going to be a thing? I think that's the big question. Like, PageRank was like, okay, you have a website. So,
But it's always been a thing. It's like if you look at anchor text, it's not just exact match anchor text. It's partial match. It's the text that's surrounding the backlink. It's what the page is on, what the site
yeah,
the backlink is on. It's all of that stuff, and it's always been like that.
yeah, but that's why I always also see it as an evolution, right? So I don't think it's like a revolution of like, oh, stop what you're doing. It's like, no, okay, now there's more context than ever before, and I think that's the big change. That's simply the big change. Is like, it was like you said, like backlinks were always simple. What's the backlink like? I got a backlink from People's Magazine for the wedding suit. That's a nice backlink. Not gonna do a lot because, well, it's like the heading is like a broke man gave or sold his wedding suit for sponsorship. The context of the link is not going to be crazy. That's not valuable. The link from the Yahoo Finance with AI, LLM tracker, whatever prompt watch, that's going to be a valuable one. Again, context. So there's, but I think that it's just like expanding on that. Like, okay, now there's a Reddit post. Now there's like without even, because this is a big thing. There's no link. What if there's no link? Okay, there's mention of your brand on a page without linking to you, and then it becomes a bit more like, how are you gonna track that? Curious if that's gonna be a big thing at some point, where it's like, okay, now that so that's, like I said, like, that's why I see this like an evolution of like, okay, things are changing. Yeah, I mean, what you've done 10 years ago is still like build a brand, build links, build context, build positive context around it. I don't think that has really changed at all.
Yeah. Right now, I think like over the years, like many businesses have ignored like putting out more content on the website. But right now, I think it's going to become really, really important. So if
Yeah.
anything is you think that is unique to your business, and it's not on your website, you got a problem now.
Yeah.
So if you're, let's say, you're hiring new team members, or let's say you hired a new head of engineering, you should create a page about that on your website, that you have hired so and so. Here is their expertise. And if you're doing like a team event or something like that, you should also create a page about that, because most of the brands, they just do like social posting about those kind of the things. But now, right now, I think that it's important to have that information on your website as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think the weird thing is that we all know that it's like you probably won't get that much clicks on it, but it's all the context engineering you have to do
Yeah.
to like, and that's the weird thing is like, oh, content is dead, but you still need to have content on your website to let the AI know what you're actually doing. So if you think about it, oh yeah, still you need to, yeah, you still have to do that. I think there's also some limits because I saw a few platforms that are now pushing like, oh, just make thousands of articles and stuff, and I'm like, oh, please don't do that. I've seen it.
You don't like AI slop as a service?
No, I think you always see the same thing, right? Well, sometimes you see the same thing, boom, and then it just gets killed off.
Yeah.
It's like it makes total
Yeah.
sense that it just doesn't work. But I would argue, don't do it. I think programmatic SEO, by the way, works great. Do that. Nothing wrong
Well,
with it.
programmatic SEO is different because like programmatic SEO was rooted in being useful. AI
Yeah,
slop as a service is rooted in pumping out slop
yeah,
that is unreviewed and that is probably hallucinating. And hey, we don't care because look how much traffic we're getting and we're exploiting Google.
yeah.
And like, so it's a big difference between programmatic SEO and AI slop. Like thousands of AI slop articles, huge
Yeah,
difference.
no, I mean, 100%. Like, but I see now a bit of like an overlap of people like, oh, we would be programming SEO, and then what do you do? Oh, well, you just generate 10,000 articles. I'm like, ooh,
Oh yeah, well that's a problem too. Yeah,
that will not really be working at all. But
yeah.
now I think that in general, like, it's always cliche when Google says it, like, well, write content people like to read, like, write good content. But it is in the end, like, do that, like, write something useful because that's something useful that people will share and read, and the LLMs also most likely will pick up. I think one thing I do notice is like the speed is changing. So because these LLMs, we call it like I think Gijs called it like the black hole of content, where it's like there's no reason for an LLM to search how to cook an egg. That the information is answered. I think that's also something people have to keep in mind. Like writing content on your website of like if you do content writing like for optimizing that, don't write content that's like an answered question because there's no need for an LLM to like go search like how do we actually
Unless you're going to write something unique and you have an existing audience to share it to.
yeah
But the thing is, if you don't have an existing audience to share it to and you write something unique, LLMs won't pick it up because LLMs are if it's something that there's a lot of content on, they're surfacing the consensus.
yeah
Yeah, sure.
yeah it's a bit like we did notice for some of the Reddit report we did notice people picking it up in ChatGPT like searching for it in ChatGPT to find it, which was weird, like not that much, but we just see some like, oh, that's interesting that the citations get picked up there, so people are finding these pages through it, but like not crazy much because you read like it's you don't really go to ChatGPT like to discover like and like you said like this edge case of content there. It's very I mean our entire business is more like intent. I want to buy
I think
something.
we know that you're not going to get unique information on ChatGPT, that you're unlikely to. We know to get it because we're savvy, but a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
That's
And
that's a fair point, by the way. That's a really good point because I had someone like sometimes we talk to people and I had someone who was like, well, I asked ChatGPT where he got the sources from and it said this, and I'm like, that's not true. Ooh, but they believe it because ChatGPT told them it was, and I'm like, oh wow, it's going to be a long afternoon.
Most people I think that the three of us are probably pretty smart. Most people are not are not like this.
yeah.
No, I
I,
think that they are smart, but they are like if you we are smart in our topic of that how an LLM works, how tool calling works, how these models get information. So we understand that. So I don't want to say like they're not smart, but it's a risk, of course, in the topic where people are like, oh, but the AI says so, so it must be true, which is it's going to be fun. Let's say it like that for sure.
Gagan, you were saying
yeah,
something?
I think many people are using ChatGPT for like generative experience as well, where they are just like trying to generate something, like they are uploading their data and saying it to like uh, clean it up, do some addition, multiplication here and there, and just give me the final report. So that
Yeah.
is also a big use case which people are using. Like students are just uploading their study PDFs and trying to get notes rather than searching the information. So that is also something that brands need to look into. Like if anyone is doing a generative task and then they move on to do an informational task about whatever they are generating, whatever they
Hmm.
have already generated in the conversation, how you fit in there. So you
Yeah.
also need, in that kind of experiences, you need to look into like the bottom of the funnel content and see like how you can, there can be certain actions that someone can be taking, and you might fit in at the end of that conversation, not at the start or the middle, you know.
Well, it goes a bit like what I said earlier, right? So when you have a cursor and you build something right with cursor, and cursor uses EXA to search the web, right? So
Mm.
that's a different search index. Probably like right now on Bing, but like you get the idea that at some point build their own index. So I'm asking cursor like, hey, build me a website. Not that, but which framework will it pick? Will it pick Next.js and Vercel for hosting? Because suddenly it's very interesting for sale to appear. Suddenly you have like a shopping factor where it's like, oh, because I'm buying something based on what the LLM is saying, and that's really where I find it interesting. On like all these micro little transactions or micro little influences where you're like, oh, I want to build something with something. Which options are you choosing, and based on what? And I think that that's actually like working with ChatGPT. Here's like, make me a PDF, do this with it, print that PDF. Okay, how like, all these little things are really interesting. Like the e-commerce things of like the future, where which which product is the AI gonna pick? And I think that's really curious where this will be heading, because if you think about it, like it could be like a massive opportunity to see like, okay, how do I rank in that, but also like how do I improve showing up in that
Yeah.
when the LLM makes decisions for me to pick something out, to build something with, or also just to purchase something.
Yeah. And this example like came to my mind because like I think 3 or 4 weeks back I was talking with a client, like they do cakes, cake shop, and they do delivery as well in Melbourne. So if anyone, let's say a big company, 100 employees, they are doing like a party or a treat kind of thing, and whoever person is responsible for ordering like whatever the catering will be, they are having the conversation with ChatGPT, and then they do the employee survey asking everyone about their preference, like what kind of cake they like, and then they just upload that Google Sheet to ChatGPT and then ask it like which is the best shop who can deliver like all these requirements. That is not like a search that people were doing with Google. There were never an option to like put in so much information and so much context, and now it's going to be so much context rich. And if you want to show up for those kind of the questions, where then you need a lot of specific information where you're saying that I provide this cake plus this plus this plus this plus this, so that you can
Yeah.
fit in like the largest requirements that a user can have and get the conversion from there.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting. Also, like in general, like buying SaaS or any because SaaS, of course, my field. I understand that field, but when people buy stuff, but it used to be like people have like often buy the wrong software because simply marketing pushed something else in your face. You're ending up with a CRM that you should not be using. You should be using a simpler one. But if you think about it, like there's like 50 CRMs. There's probably one that's better for you, but you never discovered it. And what if AI can make it so that you actually say, hey, this is me. I mean, I need a CRM for my company. And it's like, hey, this unknown one you've never heard of. It's not HubSpot. It's like a special CRM for I don't know a kindergarten or something. And like, oh, makes total sense. There's a product for that. I buy that, and it's like the perfect match.
Wait, how will the LLM know if there's no content on it?
No, I mean, so in the sense of like there, so that you go back to like there needs to be content still on your
Yeah,
website, of
yeah,
course. And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
so that's the funny thing, but you still need content to be found by AI. So that
Hmm.
I think will
Yeah.
never change. But I find the buying thing interesting because you can search so much better. Like if you type in like I
Mm,
need a CRM, you end up with HubSpot, you end up with all the standard players. But they are CRM specific for let's say schools or something, which maybe the
yeah.
people don't even know. Wait, oh, that's actually maybe a big opportunity of like, what if there's not? what if there will be more products than ever before, and you can now discover those products, and actually it's way more democratized compared to like I just spend the most on ads and I'm like the most generic tool, which never is perfect for everyone, but like that's a bit like more like the philosophical thing of like AI and where we can head. But I like that idea as well, where it's like, oh, more opportunity for everyone, and more democratized in the sense of like, hey, I can now use AI to find the right model.
Yeah,
Yeah, my view is put out a lot of documentation and talk extensively about all the use cases that you satisfy.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
getting to a point where users are becoming like more powerful. You can research more content in less period of time.
yeah,
So you can literally like set up a Gemini deep research for whatever you want, and just like 2 3 minutes later, it comes up with a really large report, like showing you everything that you should consider to make your decision. And that used to be like a 2 hours task for your research analyst. Like so
yeah,
users are becoming like really powerful now, and it's just heading towards a point where you need to specifically present more information on your website and overall on the web, and also you need to specifically talk about whatever your features are. People
yeah.
are going to run the comparisons based upon these features. So
Yeah, no, I think that yeah, 100%. I also like because I think to circle back, the whole reason this market, the AI geo space became a thing is because people started doing that, right? They were like, hey, I wanna have the best CRM for this situation. It's like here are 30 options. Oh, but if you want to you dive deeper, that's great. I mean, I think Tally, the form builder. They were one of the big ones that started sharing like, hey, we do big numbers from ChatGPT, and a lot of customers find us through that, and it's amazing. It's like, oh, cool, because they can now compete with like Typeform as a smaller bootstrap startup because they get recommended. Like Typeform can no longer be like top of like all the ads. It's like, oh, that's cool. So and for many people that their solution is better, probably not for enterprise, but for like the. So I like this way of it's if you think about it, a bit more honest marketing, where like, hey, you get judged by the things you deliver instead of like the most ad spend. It's an interesting one. It's a good. I think it's a good thing, which will of course change again with ads and everything. So it will become probably a bit circling back, but we'll see how it plays out.
yeah, so it
Yeah.
just comes
Also,
down to like build a great product and then build a great brand to sell it.
If you think
I don't
about it,
know. I think marketing is there's still like cause the way that I look at it is the barrier to actually building something now is so low, especially when it comes to software. It like it's there's just more people making new stuff. What's the differentiator? It's marketing. And
I think like this is a bit like the discussion. Like I will get in fights on Twitter with this,
yeah,
like
yeah,
with vibe
really.
coding and stuff. I think
Let's go. Let's go. No.
now I think what I like is that people can access and write and use code and vibe code stuff and get to a certain solution. I also see it like it's very hard to build like a full blown full like try building Promptwatch with like make me Promptwatch.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
so I definitely see still like there's a big the opportunity is like you can easier get started, but it's also like still as difficult as ever. It makes sense because
That's
you
true.
you also see in the AI search space, right? Hundreds are starting and people are still folding and like shutting down. So you would argue that we all could make the best tool. Apparently, we cannot. So there apparently is still.
I wouldn't argue. I wouldn't argue that at all. But I would argue. I would argue that lots of people can make stuff, and the person who has the best marketing is gonna get a huge share of the market,
Yeah, yeah, but I think in general there was
e-
always the big thing,
even
right?
if their product is worse. Even if their product is worse.
I think it will be it slowly is becoming less and less that situation, right? Where it's like even when you're like a little bit less marketing, but there's still the opportunity to like because what's surprising to me is like the amount of shopping companies do before they sell on a solution, where they literally go in demo calls and they have like five other companies. Like they shop a lot. Don't underestimate how much companies investigate like the health landscape, try different solutions before they commit to something. So I think that's good marketing will get you on that list to be part of that story, but still is like product. Like I think a lot of people are always like underestimating product, but I've seen teams like I mean look at Cluely with the with the with the whole marketing campaign and everything, and it's like all the marketing was correct, but like the sales were apparently not that good. And
I'm not saying product isn't important. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying product isn't important. Not at all. Product is extremely important. But there are a lot of great products out there that are undiscovered.
yeah, yeah, no, I think we'll both agree. Like, have a good product, have a good marketing. That's where the magic
Yeah.
happens.
You know what I've also been thinking about, and I think Kagan, you got me thinking about this. Was so we've been talking about how video is a huge opportunity. This is something that I'm not doing that I need to be doing, and that Moz did really well, which is having pages on your site for each video that you make. So like every Whiteboard Friday, it wasn't just a raw transcript. It was a formatted review transcript with an H1 and H2s and sometimes H3s. And I think it's something that I want to do in the next 6 to 12 months is hire somebody for each, because I put out this show every single day. But like, what if the show had and it had its own page on my site? It was within a subfolder. Maybe I even had them into other subfolders depending on the category. But then, I have an H1, I have H2s, maybe some H3s. I have the whole transcript. It's reviewed. It's right there. And I think that videos that actually have that get a lot more from search. Like there is a huge wasted opportunity by not doing that. And the content's already there.
But
You just need somebody to do that.
it's the fun thing, right? But we all call content is that it's already, and then it's like, oh, we still should push so much stuff on our website. Like the conclusion is like have like everything on your website structured, and if it's a video, have it. If it's like someone joining the team, have it on your website. If it's a big team outing, news report, a new feature, changelog, landing pages for all your features. Like it's like the weird thing is like we expect less clicks, but we were making more content than ever before. So.
Yeah. I think it's just that
Yeah,
operations, running any business like small, medium sized, large, it's just the getting the operations right is really, really
yeah.
hard task. And I think AI is going to help with that. But still, like right now, like getting operations right is I struggle with that every day. Like it's my problem, like, and I work with all these businesses and I can see their operations problems as well. Like when you interact with any business or you are talking with like business owners, you can see like what exact challenge they have. It's mostly that we have a operational problem, we cannot find the right talent to sort it out.
Yeah, but I think in general, like that's also, I never like it when there's a lot of AI SaaS tools, but I'm like, oh, you click and forget, and the AI agent magically will do everything. And sadly, we've never seen like successful cases in any like field where those are deployed. But I think, for example, we do like we can service all these action points, right? We can service like, hey, you have to do this and do this, but you still have to do that. Like I can service like you. I'm not, for example, a big fan of like, oh, we could like automate the Reddit comments. Like, good luck with that. Like that's not going to work.
Automate with AI or with a human?
With AI, like with you,
Okay, yeah,
I
yeah.
like the idea
Yeah.
of like servicing. Hey, these Reddit posts have like influence on how you rank. That's good. Like here, we can show that to you. But like trying to automate commenting on that, like
Yeah.
I can give suggestions,
Yeah.
but I don't think it works because I've seen it fail so many times. So I would argue don't do that.
Same.
Same with YouTube. Like we could make a like make a bot that creates a YouTube
Dude,
video
I
for
have
you.
bots. I thought you were going to say commenters. Oh, but yeah, YouTube, yeah. Well, I mean, so actually I'm having Julian Goldie on actually I think he comes on next week. And I was watching him talk to Jackie Chu, who was on last week, and Jackie was like, "So you scaled up your AI content like pretty hard." And he has a lot of, but then again, he has a team that is literally finding good content that people care about, and then they are actually like using AI, and they're using Claude to like ideate
No.
scripts, and then his face is being cloned and his voice is being cloned, but there's still humans doing the
Yeah.
research behind that.
Yeah, like how I see with most of these AI options is like if I let's say we build a system where you can generate the perfect YouTube video for these things, right? Then it's like kind of like so much automated that everyone has access to the system, so it doesn't become an advantage anymore. And
Yeah.
that's a bit problem with a lot of these solutions. If it's so easy to automate, the advantages away, it goes away, right? So
Yep.
I think that's always the line where you're like, we can make insights, we give you action plans, we can say, hey, these things have an impact on. These are suggestions for content for creation, but I would probably argue we're still far away from actually then also just making that content. That's probably not something we're going to see soon. Well, maybe we're going to see it at some point because I think, for
Yeah.
example, the short video market is something that's like super automated. I have an extension on YouTube to block those shorts because they're I don't want to see them. But yeah, I think I can definitely see it become a thing at some point. But for now, I don't think it's a big thing.
Yeah, I know many people who are like YC backed. They are working on like personal agents who can do like you can create one source content and it can help you create like platform specific posts from that. So Edward can just create like one episode and it will give you recommendations around like which clip out of that episode should be posted on LinkedIn, which should go on X with what
Yeah,
content and things like that. That can be helpful, but at the end of the day, it's just like AI making the judgment, and you also need to step back and see like, is it hallucinating, or maybe you can make better judgment compared to any AI model. You know?
I'll tell you, Gagan. I'm not gonna name it, but it's in like the top three of the ones that does that. And like if I said the name, people would know it. And I consulted them, and it was just like even in the top three, the software isn't good for actually picking out clips from a podcast and clipping it into stuff that will go. And something that I've seen from making so much content is every podcast that I make, there is an opportunity to take something and turn it into a viral short.
Yeah, sure.
There is an opportunity to do that. But like it's not just that AI doesn't pick out that viral short, it's that it gets it so wrong. Like the clips are so bad. What these AI clippers do is so
I think
bad.
the problem with that is like it's making a database judgment, like where it has seen what has gone viral, and then it thinks that if these 10 things has gone viral, then out of the new video, this will go viral. But that's
yeah.
never happens to you, you know, like the same type of video rarely go viral. Like that guy, what's the name from Indonesia, like the vibe coding
Oh,
guy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
He cannot do it again.
he went viral, and it's not like there is none of the trend which like is similar to that video, like that is the unique thing that went viral which never existed. So LLMs cannot make like a judgment on virality. Like they can help you to figure it out, but it's never going to get to a point where it end up getting like 100 million views, you know.
I think what's interesting because I think we can all see it becoming good. We can all see like, hey, there could within a short time, maybe a year, there will be software that can clip the right parts of this podcast and say these are interesting parts. That we probably at some point it will be a thing. But I think like it's like so hard
Maybe.
to judge
I mean,
what's good.
even now, Klass likes. Okay, so actually, I'll tell you, if we just started making teasers for guest episodes. Up until now, we were not doing that. The episode that's coming out in an hour from now is it's going to have a teaser on it. And my initial thought was like have AI pick out the best lines. So I gave the transcript to ChatGPT. I actually had ChatGPT come up with a prompt to use because ChatGPT can be pretty good at coming up with
Yeah,
prompts. Like it made a very detailed prompt on the type of stuff I want from the transcript.
yeah.
And even then, the stuff that it gave me, part of it was hallucinated. Other lines just weren't good. They just weren't. And I there is a way to use it, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it takes, you know what it is? There's a way to have good AI prompts to pick out the best lines. It requires a lot of work in order to refine the prompt, and I think it's different for each show. It's different for the feel of each show.
Yeah.
So when each creator has a different feel, how are you going to make you can't reuse a prompt for each creator maybe
Yeah.
like depending on the category, you could do it. What's your category? And then maybe there's a way to solve it
I think
down the
thinking
line.
about it like something like this is like it feels like kind of like an agent mode where you're like, okay, first like get all the context around the creator, what has like been happening, why is he on the show?
Yeah,
Then you
I
have
need a
some,
project.
and then you can see something happening. But if you look at it like how much this is basically what you've done, do research up front, have the interview, and like, oh, this was a fun part. This was a fun part. We should do, and actually you actually already did it. So to have the good result, you have to do the research and basically, it's a fun joke someone once made, and I like that one. Have you tried giving the AI the answer? Because that's sometimes almost required to get the, like, oh yeah, you're already like giving it the answer. What's the point of using AI? Because everything is already there. So I think that's really like the
You're saying reverse engineer it.
basically you're reverse engineering it. So by doing that, you already have the answer to
We know that 42 is the answer. What's the question? And then let's reuse that question.
exactly.
No, but that yeah, that is a good point. And I do think that maybe if I had a more extensive project on what works and what doesn't, then maybe I could get that. And like to counter myself, it could be possible because a lot of different shows fall into niches. So it you could actually have prompts that work for niches that could be good.
Yeah.
But I'm not there yet. I mean, and I've used AI for content a lot, and it's still like the best thing is like honestly the best thing is Gagan sends me something on X that he found interesting. He's like, make content on this. I make content on it, and it goes viral. And
Yeah.
but it's the human who is identifying what is going to go viral and what is not.
Yeah.
But it's such a like I think the whole viral thing is such a fine line. Like it's so you have to be so in the moment to make it work that you can probably never really train an algorithm or an LLM to pick those moments. I think you can of course like hook into like Grok and get like all the real time information to figure out what's trending now and have that as a base. But like to be really
If
nailing
you're
it,
doing trends, sure. But so what's also very interesting is I have short form videos that I upload every 6 months, and they go viral again every 6 months because they're universally interesting. Like there's a story about this guy who bought Google.com, and I don't know
yeah, yeah,
if you
yeah.
guys, yeah,
One day or
yeah. So
something,
this
right?
guy,
Yeah.
but yeah, he was messing around with Google domains, and he's like, oh, like what happens if I just put in Google.com here? Oh, it's available. Let me click buy. Oh my God, I own Google.com now, and he owned it for like a second, and then the purchase was, and he got all these emails confirming that he owned it every time I make, if I took what I just said right there and I clipped that into a 30-second video, I can promise you it would get several 100,000 to several million views. I can promise you with certainty
Yeah.
because I've done it like 5 other times.
No,
So there are like,
it's these are the
yeah,
evergreen. I remember I had made that tweet like a while ago about like we changed all the loading states to thinking, so we're now an agentic AI startup. Got like 10,000 likes and millions of views. I made the same joke 6 months ago. The same joke.
yeah, yeah,
Also a bit of traction, but just like I think you can make it in a few months again. Like these are these evergreen jokes that just work. And people love them. But then it's also a bit
yeah,
the question with virality is like if I take a viral video of like any platform and put it on my Twitter, it will not resonate. It will not go viral. So you also have the base audience anyway. So it's so
yeah. That is
nuanced to
interesting.
get right. Like you need to know your own audience. You can push everything. So it's like it's really. I think that's why I'm never like too worried about like AI taking over everything because the whole authenticity, brand, people who want to be part of something, they love that, right? So that's never really
Yeah.
going to change. I think at least.
Oh, and to wrap up this conversation, I don't think the amount of people searching is really going to decrease.
I think it's
Some
the
people try
population
to
is
make the
growing,
yeah.
but not in Western countries.
No, that's true.
Well, that's true. That is very true.
Yeah.
But I mean, some people try to make the argument that like AI is just going to predict what you want next. Personally, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
I think there's some truth in that. You can definitely make a case of like, oh, you bought this and you probably now want to
Yeah,
have
but
this.
you're
Sure.
still going to do more searches, but you're still going to just continue to like even if search intent is satisfied, you'll go search for something else.
Yeah, and but I always say that people love browsing. Don't underestimate how much
Mm,
people love the window shopping, the experience of because
The cookie
I always say
banners
that
in
this.
EU,
Sorry, but
cookie
I always
banners.
say that this. What I always say with these is that you can, of course, I can make Home Extra a real estate website where you type in who you are, and I will give you the best option for a vacation home, and it will be a villa in Spain, for example. Cool. No one will use that. People want to click around for weeks and months and see all these options and experience the idea of dreaming and clicking around. And I think that also for shopping, for go in like a shopping street and you see how much people enjoy that experience. Maybe not us, but like people like that. So I think that never like the idea of like websites going away. I don't see that happening anytime soon. But I do think that the buying experience is a big thing.
Also, it's like a human psychology. Like whenever you're about to spend on anything, you want effort behind it to justify that to yourself, and
Yeah,
that effort
that's
comes from
also
browsing.
yeah. That's the whole the window shopping, the experience, finding the right thing, and I think it's also like, there was a study in the Netherlands that the younger generation is now actually using more of those travel agencies. They're actually young people are using travel agencies more than ever before because they want to have the right experience. They want to have like they go there, they have this, and you expect them to all to go to just which I mean, still people do that and still become a massive market, but it's fun to see that. Oh well, people also just want to have the buying experience, and that's good. I think that's a nice thing, and also a big opportunity still to have that and do that right. So, as long as websites keep being relevant, I'm happy. That's the main takeaway.
where should everybody find you and find your stuff?
I think the easiest way promptwatch.com, and also I think I'm mostly on Twitter, the Forge Bits Twitter thing. I think most people have seen it by now. Sadly, I have to be careful what I post.
You have a great Twitter.
I'm very fortunate enough that it goes like viral every week now, so we have like a lot of traction from there. Also, again, we talk a lot about brand, but personal brand is also like I think a big thing. A lot of people are sleeping on. Maybe it's even becoming a bigger thing than we expect.
Yeah. And Gagan?
Yeah, of course on Twitter, Gagan Ghotra _.
Yeah, and on LinkedIn.
Yeah, on LinkedIn too, but way less. Like Twitter is almost like 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Both of you post amazing stuff. Really, really interesting stuff on I mean, Klass, you posted such influential stuff that you took down the price of Reddit by 10%.
Without
And
intention.
that is all that we got for you on this episode of the show. This is a
Perfect.
good episode, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right. So, for everybody who watched and listened, this is episode 856 of The Edward Show. Oh my gosh. 856 days in a row doing this podcast. Had some great guests this week. And actually, the legend David Quaid is coming back on Sunday. We had a good episode a couple weeks ago. He's coming back. Such a good week. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now. Oh my God. Bye now.